Last week, I posted a video on tips and approaches that I use in managing my adult fears. And today I'm going to share a video on how I help my 2-year-old son in managing his fears. Because he's a toddler and he's in a completely different stage of life in terms of his developmental milestones, the approaches I'm going to share with you are a little bit different than what we would do for us adults. As our son is 2 years old, we've encountered fears in all kinds of situations. So today I wanted to share with you some of the experiences that we have had and what are the approaches that we have used in helping him manage fears through things such as bedtime, medical visits, the resistance in wanting to socially interact with other children. Normally this is labeled as shyness, but it's actually caused by fear. And so I will share with you how we have helped him deal with that. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Agatha and I'm a mom of a 2-year-old son named Valentino. Both my Instagram page and my YouTube space here focuses on applying emotional intelligence and growth mindset, both with myself and how am I passing on those skills to my son. So if this is a topic that you are interested in or curious about and you haven't subscribed yet, you can hit the button down below. And if you haven't connected with me on Instagram yet, please come do so and send me a message and come say hi, as I really love hearing from everyone who connects with me. So fears can be completely complex, and one of the things that I recently learned is at birth, we as human beings are pre-wired for 2 innate fears. The first one is the fear of falling, and the second one is the fear of loud sounds. All other fears have been passed down to us by our caretakers, by situations and experiences, and the environment around us. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is that there are different ways we can handle these situations that help and teach our children to manage their fears in a healthy way, versus it turning into unnecessary stresses and even traumas that might affect them later in life. So earlier when I mentioned that fears can be really complex, here are some of the reasons that affect fears in toddlers. So the first one is genetic susceptibility, which is the fact that some human beings are just generally much more sensitive and emotional in their temperament. And so what that might look like is being much more sensitive to loud sounds and overstimulation. The second reason that contributes and could potentially amplify a child's fears is at least one anxious parent or caretaker that they interact with on a regular basis in the family. So I would say that I fall into this category because children learn so much from their interactions with their caretakers. One of the things about me is, even though I can be very extroverted in some areas of my life, when it comes to extremely large groups of crowds of people, such as concerts or whatever, I'm very introverted. All those human beings and loud sounds actually make me want to run away. And sometimes these interactions happen in my own life, and I can see how they're starting to rub off on my son. So it's really unfair for me to push him into a very loud and rowdy playground and say, hey, here, go play with those kids, when I know he himself is a little bit introverted in those instances. The third one is overreactive parenting. That means when a parent removes all kinds of obstacles out of their child's way and the child can't learn in being able to do something, there's a lot more generalized fear and anxiety that comes with interacting with the world around them. And once again, I do fall into that category. I think as parents, it's really hard not to help your toddler when they're getting really frustrated. I've been a lot more cognizant about it, and I'm very much working on it. But that is the third contributing factor in what really helps to cause and amplify fears in toddlers. So the fourth one would be stressful events, such as separation from a parent or an overextended hospital stay. Another example that we have experienced what has turned into a stressful event would be my son being ripped out of his sleep by a fire alarm going off and me not being able to respond to him right away. He was in his crib, I would say maybe for about a minute before I could react and get him when that alarm went off. And that was a very traumatic and stressful event for him that now we experience whenever a really loud sound or an alarm goes off. He freaks out and he comes and runs to me, basically crying and clinging onto me like a koala bear. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that my son is afraid of and how we deal with those approaches. But I would love to hear from you, what are the fears that you experience with your kids? So you can tap on the little button up above and send me a response and let me know, as I'm always really interested in what kind of experiences your children are having, as it really sort of helps me to understand not just my own experience, but also what are other people going through. With everything that I'm going to share with you, the number one thing that I really want to pass on to everybody when it comes to these guys' little brains, they cannot process fear until they feel calm and safe. So we as caretakers and parents play an important role in being able to create sense of connection and safety as a way to help them calm down. And when we are able to do that is when we can gently help and move them out of their comfort zone. So when a child is scared, this is the last place that you want to try to build a sense of resilience and grit. And what I mean by that is we had a situation where my son was going to a child's birthday party where there was a lot of kids there, and the idea was to help him interact more with these children by removing the adult caretaker out of the picture so the child doesn't cling onto the adult but goes and interacts with the children. Well, what that created was actually much more fear and a sense of panic in my son. And I will share with you what is the appropriate approach in dealing in these kind of situations later on in the video. So we sometimes experience our son waking up in the middle of the night and he is screaming uncontrollably, like he had some sort of nightmare or something, and he refuses to go back into his crib. So there are two specific approaches that we started using around bedtime to help and alleviate any kind of stressors. Before bed, we really try to play and giggle in a way that really helps him to release some of his daily stressors. So an example would be, and I apologize, my dog is barking in the background because the mailman's coming by, but this is one of my son's, one of his favorite toys. We call him Meow Meows, but we'll play with some of stuffed animals, you know, we'll say, we're giving Meow Meows a little kiss, and Meow Meows wants a little kiss from you too. And we just play in a really like sweet and soft, silly way because we don't want to get him overexcited before bed. But these are just some of the ways that we have a fun little sweet laugh about things and we giggle, and that helps to release some of his stressors that he might have been feeling throughout the day. And that really creates a lot of those feel-good chemicals in the brain, so as he's going to bed, he's a lot more calmer in being able to rest. And then we take the opportunity to connect with him through story time. So we will snuggle up in his chair together, and either me or my husband will read him bedtime stories, and that is another way that we create that sense of connection together with him. So when it comes to nighttime waking, sometimes our son just cries out and we'll give him a minute or two, and you know, we'll see on the monitor what's going on. Sometimes he goes back to sleep on his own and we don't go in there, we don't disturb him. We just sort of, he figured it out, he went back to bed. But then there are times when he wakes up and he is screaming uncontrollably and something is wrong. We know that if he woke up, he's either uncomfortable or something has scared him, or some sort of sensation or something. And that is the time when he is not calming down, either my husband or I will go in there, and what we will do is I will literally pick him up out of his crib and I will take his blanket and put his blanket on my shoulder, and I will just pick him up and hold him really close and rock him. I don't always have to say something. Just I keep the lights off, I keep it dark. I'm just letting him know, like, hey, something happened, you must be scared or something, and I am here. And usually this will take a couple of minutes and he calms down. And when I see that he puts his head on my shoulder and he's sort of like feeling really much more calmer, is when I will put him back in his crib and I will tuck him in and I will gently pat his head, and I will just let him know, like, hey, I'm just in the room next door, so I'm gonna let you go back to sleep, and I love you very much, and I'll see you in the morning. And if you need me again, I will come back in. And that's it, and I leave it at that. So one of the things that I do with my son is, even the day before we go in to go see the doctor, I will let him know what's gonna be happening that day. So today we're gonna get some shots, and I sort of try to preempt him in that way and let him know what's up. I don't try to hide things from him or try to sneak up surprises when it comes to medical visits. If I can, I try to do those medical visits together with him. So in the example of when he had to get his flu shot, our clinic allows adults to get the flu shot together with the kids. And I myself am really scared of needles. And I had him watch me get the flu shot first. And then I said, okay, I'm feeling scared myself, and I really need you to hold my hand. And then we flipped it around. When it was his turn, I said, now I'm gonna hold you, and now you're gonna get your flu shot. And of course he cried. You know, everybody's gonna cry when they have this sort of slightly scary situation happening to them, but it was maybe for like 30 seconds, and I was there to comfort him and he was there to comfort me, and that is how we build up a place of connection and safety when it comes to medical visits. When it comes to children and interacting with other children, my son definitely sits on the sidelines. He's not the child that like runs towards the group of kids and wants to play with the toys that they have. He's the observer on the side who looks in. I did a little bit of research around what causes shyness, and one of the things that I have discovered is when children have new interactions and new situations with people they don't know, it actually creates a sense of fear, and that is what is actually the underlying tone of what shyness is. So as I mentioned in the story earlier, what hasn't been a great approach in helping our son is abandoning him at birthday parties, hoping that he will just interact and integrate with the kid. One of the ways that I now deal and help him with shyness around the playground or birthday parties is I will just be in his vicinity. We will go sit together, and I myself, as the caretaker, start interacting with the other children who are around us. So in the example of the playground, there might be a toy or something, or they're just children that are much more extroverted and they will approach us, and I will start talking to that child. And what ends up happening is that my son ends up easing, like, there's no big deal. I'm not pressuring him to share anything. I'm not pressuring him to play with that other child. I'm literally just interacting with these other children and just allowing him and giving him the space to be able to observe those interactions. So if you made it this far in the video, let me know what you thought of what I shared with you today by either giving me a thumbs up or thumbs down, or leave me a comment down below. So I will see you guys in the next video, and thank you for watching.